What's up, world? It's your girl Dante, and we're back with another video. Today I figured we would talk about, is it mental or is it hormonal? I've been sharing my manic depressive bipolar 2 diagnosis for the past year. I'm about to make a year on medication. And anybody else who has been on the medication journey, I am here with you. I support you. We are embracing our unique minds. But of course, the beginning stages are very dark and lonely and confusing. So when I posted my video yesterday about the symptoms that made me want to go speak to someone and get diagnosed, I also had questions about, well, how do you know if it's hormonal? And I did a quick little reel on Insta, but I figured we'd go in a really long, in-depth thing on here on YouTube. So I would say when you're trying to figure out, like, is it hormonal or is it bipolar? Is it chronic depression, ADHD, any of that? One, in a minority woman, mental health shows up very differently than other races. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But when I did my research, that there was about a large percentage, I forget the number, that Black women get misdiagnosed as bipolar when they really have hormonal issues, or they will be considered having hormonal issues, which is what I kept being told, and it was really bipolar. And also ADHD also turns out and shows up in Black and brown women very differently as opposed to Asian and white women. I'm not sure the scientific as to why, but it just affects us in a different way. So when I learned about all of this, that's when I really got into, okay, let me try the holistic route first. So first things first was I was having very painful cramps. I would have, it was like PMS, but on overload. So that's why I thought at first it was possibly like PMDD, because PMDD, if you don't know what it basically is premenstrual cycles, but 10 times worse. So I thought it was that because I did a lot of research and there was a lot of women my age around, when things started to act up, was around like 28 years old, that I was like, something is, actually I'm lying. So I started seeing a difference when I was turning 25, mentally, also in my body. My hair was thinning and it was falling out. I had very bad acne all here, down here. I had just got off birth control, so my hormones were all over the place. So I was thinking, hey, it has to be hormones. But through this journey, I also learned that, had I not been on birth control, I probably would have either had an episode way earlier and been diagnosed bipolar, or it would have just shown up at a later date anyway, because usually bipolar tends to show up within your teens or through in your later 20s getting into your 30s. I'm not sure why, but that's just how it is. So I think that had I not been on birth control for years, I probably would have been diagnosed much earlier on. Because even in high school, I would be always crying in the hallways. Y'all know y'all saw me crying in them damn hallways. Large anger, fighting people, slapping people. And that comes from the large emotions and the mood changes and me being triggered. So without me, I'm trying to not ramble and go through on. I figured that through all of this stuff, it had to be hormonal. So I went with my mom through a long journey of research on TikTok, YouTube, doctors, nutritionists, tried all the vitamins, all of the over-the-counter medicines. And I would see that, like, it would help with cramping. It would probably help with, like, the bloating. But it did not necessarily help with the mental. It did not help with the depression. It did not help with the suicidal thoughts. It did not help with me thinking that the world was out to get me. So after the long stint of talking to my doctor and my gyno, and she's just so tired of me at this point, but, which is another conversation, how my conversation constantly with my gyno pushed her to get her daughter diagnosed, because she was picking up on some of the symptoms I was saying. And she was like, wow, that sounds like my daughter. And she's been doing da-da-da-da. That's another story. We'll get to that. But my gyno was like, okay, cool. It's definitely something going on, but we can't see it in your panel. I'm not really sure, you know. So I took it upon myself, because although I do love my gyno, she didn't tell me, you know, maybe you should go speak to a psych. I did it myself, and it was a very, very, very tedious process that I do not wish on anybody. It made me want to give up. Sometimes it made me even just want to like end my days, just because of how frustrated I was at the lack of accessibility and the lack of help. And I felt like just a number. And I'm going to be honest with you, in the US, and a lot of these doctors, I get it, they have to get paid, you know. But I am a person with mental health issues. And I felt like I was fighting I was fighting tooth and nail to even be seen, to be heard, for someone to actually listen to what I was saying. I remember when I first went to somewhere, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you have to do it, do it. Because this is a time where like financially just wasn't right for me, even my insurances and everything like that. I had to go through Robert Wood. And honestly, that was a terrible experience. I did not like the psych, to the point I wanted to report her. The therapist was cool. He tried to help me as much as possible. But because it was a place that was trying to help people who really didn't have insurance and stuff like that, it was terrible, terrible service. And it just made me feel like crap. And then it made me feel even more bad, because my empathic ass was like, oh my God, there's so many people out in the world who are struggling like me. Like, oh my God. And this is how people treat them? This is how they treat us? I was just so beside myself. So beside myself. So I think that that process, if it wasn't for my mom, I don't know. She really helped me to find a doctor. And I think that there were times where I was so anxiety ridden, I just wanted to get rid of this feeling that I would take out my anger on my family too, because I'm just like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. So I knew it couldn't have been hormonal compared to all my other girlfriends who had PCOS or things that were hormonal. I knew that it wasn't that no more. Now, when I got diagnosed, it made complete sense, and I already kind of figured I was. As a manic depressive 2, bipolar 2, I started to cycle sync. And cycle syncing is something that we can completely talk about in a different video as well. But I have moments and clusters that I pretty much attribute to them as cycles. So I have like 4 different cycles. And it's pretty much tied to the normal woman's cycle. But not the fly just attacking me. So, like I was saying, before the fly interrupted me, that I kind of forgot what I was saying. See, because he just came into my face. So, we're gonna tie this all in. Ways to figure out that if it's mental or if it's hormonal. Hormonal, bloatings, PMS cycles, like the crying, the anger, and then your period comes, you're like, I'm normal again. Your body heat. I know some women tend to deal with like irregulation, or your body heat fluctuates back and forth. This fly is about to get hands. Oh, I punched it too. So, yeah. Also probably really painful cramps. Probably dealing with like brownness at the end of your period that could tie back to your uterus. And sometimes that'll be all hormonal stuff like that you really need to take care of. A cold uterus, not eating right, things like that. Then if it's mental, I would say it's going to affect a lot of areas of your life. It's going to affect your speech. It can affect your sleep. It can affect your relationships. It can affect how how your self-love, like if you want to live, you'll have suicidal ideations, which can also happen hormonally. You can have that, but again, it's not long, it's not frequent, and it's rare. Also on this side, I would say for hormones, for mental, is you probably lose interest in terms of like things that you're doing, and then one minute you're back into it. It's like these cycles of just like highs and lows. And in hormonal, you can have your highs and lows as well, but again, they are not as frequent, they are not as long, and when your period comes, you feel normal. For a person who may deal with mental health issues, sometimes if you're on your time of month, it could probably heighten you to be more triggered, to be more manic or hypomanic. Everybody is different. But overall, I'm just here to share my stories with you. So just hope that it helps somebody out there. I love y'all. Bye.